Hey everyone, good afternoon. Hopefully you're having a good day today. I wanted to take a moment to talk about disinformation agents. A lot of people hear that term, but they're really not familiar with what it means. They've heard disinformation agent and they hear people say this is a disinformation agent. Well, what exactly is a disinformation agent? Let's talk about it.
If you don't know who to trust anymore, this might be the thing that's making you feel that way. If you feel exhausted by the news, this could be why. And if you're sick of it all and you just want to stop caring, then we really need to talk. Ready?
Oftentimes people are disinformation agents or agents of chaos, and they don't even know it because they've studied stuff and they believe it to be real, but they haven't done the research on where the information originally came from. That's why it's very important to do your due diligence and make sure when you study things, you study them thoroughly, because not everything is as it appears.
Deceive and manipulate.
Alright, just to avoid any confusion, let's pause here quickly to unpack all these different flavours of bullshit. At the top, you've got your active measures, right? These are basically any kind of covert operations against another country, short of starting a war. This includes forgeries and even kidnappings, but disinformation was the heart and soul of it for the KGB. You might be thinking that's just a fancy word for propaganda, but it's not. Propaganda tries to convince us to believe something. Disinformation is a highly organised attempt to deceive us into believing it. Today, everyone calls this fake news, but that's become such a loaded term, no thanks to this guy, that it's basically useless.
To bring a little bit of further clarity, I'm going to read something on Operation InfeKtion with a K, InfeKtion. So Operation InfeKtion was actually something started with the KGB a while back, and it was pretty effective, and it still is to this day.
The difficult-to-pronounce Komitet Gosudarstvenoi Bezopasnosti was the former Soviet Union's main security agency from 1954 to 1991. It was the cause of widespread intrigue and fear and gave no quarter to its enemies. On home turf, this might have meant crushing dissidents and sending them to labor camps, while abroad, the KGB was said to have been involved in numerous kidnappings, assassinations, terrorist bombings, sabotage, and of course, spying on the enemy. It had spies planted in the CIA and also had moles in the FBI as well as other global intelligence agencies and organizations.
Operation InfeKtion. Operation InfeKtion was an active measure disinformation program run by the KGB. This was in the 1980s. And they used it to plant the idea that the United States had invented HIV and AIDS as part of a biological weapons research project at Fort Detrick. That's in Maryland. Historian Thomas Beauregard popularized the code name InfeKtion based on the claim of former East German Ministry of State Secretary Gunter, this person's last name, I can't pronounce it, so I'm not even going to try, who claimed that the Stasi code name for the campaign was either InfeKtion or perhaps Vorwärts 2, meaning forward 2. However, historian Christopher Nering and Douglas Selvage found in the former Stasi Bulgarian State Secretary archives materials that prove the actual Stasi code name for the AIDS disinformation program was Operation Denver. The operation involved an extraordinary amount of effort, funding radio station programs, journalists, distributing would-be scientific studies, and a bunch of other stuff that they were basically putting in the newspapers and spreading around to see where it would stick and who bought it. And a lot have. The KGB actually paid a lot of people to spread a lot of disinformation. A lot of these people made it up. themselves. They were young people who made it up and then put it in these papers and so forth. And they didn't know how well it would actually spread. But boy, just like wildfire, it did spread.
The 26-year-old journalism grad became a troll by accident in late 2014 when he answered an ad at the Internet Research Agency. I figured out early that the main goal was to create a picture of the world on the Internet that mirrored what was being shown on Russian television. Bespalov was put on the Ukraine desk. Russia's covert support for rebels in eastern Ukraine was underway, so anything that made Ukrainian government soldiers look bad was a priority, especially stories about dead children. We saw a news story that some militiamen were hiding in the school in Donbass, and it was being shelled. Some children died. The facts were unclear, says Bespalov, but that didn't matter. We simply took the news stories and wrote that Ukrainian soldiers shot and killed the children. That's it. No hesitation. Murat Mendiarov spent 3 months as a troll in early 2015. Under the fake name Ivan Putkin, he was told to use the comments section to rebut critical stories about the Kremlin.
What kinds of things were they asking you to write? Things that applauded the United States or things that applauded Russia?
Applauded Russia, of course, and unfortunately, that's the horror, to hate America.
The pay was good, he says, 1,000 Canadian dollars a month, but he said it was soul-destroying, so he left after 3 months.
It was not criminal in the terms of the law. It was criminal in the terms of the ethic and moral.
That's just one example. There are many others, and I don't want to get too long-winded in this video. My point really is doing your due diligence and really researching the things you talk about before you put them out there, because a lot of people have never heard some of the information, and we're out here telling people stuff that sometimes might not be accurate. So it's very important that you study to show yourself approved. People who are also studying, make sure you study the people who studied what they're studying to make sure they're approved. Oh, okay, that was worded oddly, but you get it. You get what I'm saying, right? Fuck. What inspired this video was watching Brother Sanchez yesterday with the lady on the phone who had a complete breakdown. She has a wrench, and she is a moderator there, and she also works for the government. And Brother Sanchez was like, some of these people I keep close because I fucks with them. Others I keep close because I watch them. Smart man, smart man.